The story's heroine doesn't understand love. When she tries reading about it in a book, she tears the page out in frustration. So, when a student asks her out, she shuts him down immediately. Love isn't her thing. As she walks away, the other students whisper, calling her cold, the witch of the art prep room. She's Komichi Shijo, a second year in the art club and the daughter of a super famous painter. She's got mad skills, but she's also known for turning down any guy who tries to get close. Rumors are flying around that she's up to some odd ritual in her art prep room, but honestly, things might not be what they seem. When she walks in there, there's this guy who can't wrap his head around how she's causing all this buzz. He thought she'd keep a low profile, but how could she when a dude confessed in such a noticeable spot? He believes the guy really went for it and even suggests that she should consider going out with him, but there's just no way. She doesn't feel anything for him at all. In her mind, he probably just wants to use her to make himself look good. The man can see she's pretty romantic. She just smirks and asks who he thinks she is. He calls her name, but she corrects him. She's actually Shishijo Sensei, creator of the hit manga Love Riddle Renji. It would be so much easier to come clean, but doing so could land her in even more trouble. The room's a complete mess, and if people found out their famous mangaka was working in there, they'd be shocked. Still, she can't resist because he's allowed her to do whatever she wanted. He even bets that she doesn't eat properly, and if she got sick, he wouldn't step in to help. So Shinjo tells him to ignore it, since she can't keep up this lifestyle for long. He realizes she's in another slump, and she admits it. Then he suggests she should just enjoy a normal high school life. He even bets she has no friends, and definitely no boyfriend, and those words hit her right in the feels. She tells him not to worry about her. After all, she just pours all her love into manga. She doesn't care how this boring reality plays out as long as she can keep drawing. He reminds her not to push herself too hard, then heads out, suggesting she should show up to class now and then. As soon as he's gone, she dives back into her manga. Not long after, she's jolted by the sound of her alarm. She checks the time. It's already noon. She's out of instant ramen, but honestly, she's too lazy to go buy some. Not eating is just fine with her. She thinks he might be right. If she keeps living like this, she could end up sick. All she feels is a headache since no decent ideas are coming to her. Looking at the characters in her manga, she realizes they're missing something important. Manga is all she has left. And just then, someone knocks on her door. She wonders who it could be. A couple of classmates show up to drop off homework, and one of them even compliments her room, saying it feels like a witch lives there. All Shujo can think is that she wishes they would leave quickly. They notice her latest volume of Love Riddle and start chatting about it. She can't help but wonder if they're actually talking about her work. They can't stop praising the female protagonist for being so straightforward, and Shijo thinks it's funny since she doesn't even know her own character that well. The two of them seem like an unlikely pair, but they quickly start bonding over manga. Shijo can totally sense the vibe of awkward love. The cool girl from the top of the class and a slightly sad otaku who just blends into the background. The chick is really into her 2D stuff, but has to keep it under wraps, and in the end, the dude finds out. Shijo can't help but notice how the girl lights up when she's around this guy. She's just a nice gal who really gets otaku culture, but Shijo is totally confused about what to make of it, since she felt blank in the morning. But after seeing those two together, things start to click for her. Watching this dude smile at the girl grabs Shijo's attention, and she just plops down to sketch. It's like her block was a total joke, and now ideas are pouring out. So she starts working on drafts for her next chapter, feeling grateful for what she's witnessing. As she turns the corner, she sees the guy calling out to Fushimi, looking a bit nervous as he asks if they can go out. That gal listens, and his heart is racing. Shijo feels a little touched by the whole scene. It's such a sweet confession. Now she waits for Fushimi's response, and while Fushimi appreciates him, she apologizes, saying she's only into people who can draw. Shijo is shocked at that reason. Karsuma stands there frozen, feeling totally bummed out, flopping into a chair as if his youth is over. Seeing this, Shijo can't help but tear up too. It's just frustrating for her because she feels like she missed her chance as well. Karsuma then thinks about trying to draw since he figures it might be fun, but people call his art disgusting. He wonders if he's just getting excited over nothing. Shijo hears all this from the corner, and even though she sensed love between them, she decides she can't let it end like that. But then she trips and falls. Karasuma notices her, surprised, and rushes over to see if she's okay. He thinks about calling an ambulance, but Shijo stops him, asking if he has anything to eat. That's why she fell in the first place. He grabs a bento from his bag and gives it to her. Shijo apologizes and thanks him as she takes a bite. surprised by how good it is. She starts munching on the bento like crazy, and he's happy she likes it. She's crying, and when he notices, he asks if she's okay. As she wipes her tears, she feels bad because it's been ages since she had food this good. For her, it's like a five-star bento, but for him, it's just regular homemade stuff. He calls her a strange person, almost slips by calling her a witch, but corrects himself. She can't believe her awful nickname is somehow known by the new students. She barely knows his name, and he introduces himself as Karasuma. He decides to tidy up the place because he can't focus in the mess, and she feels bad that he's doing all this for her. But he just needs something to distract himself. So he starts cleaning everything up, giving Shijo a taste of home. She's been so caught up with everything that eating just feels like refueling. She can't even remember the last time she had a proper meal, lost in her thoughts. Meanwhile, while Karsuma organizes the books, he spots Love Riddle, which isn't even out yet. He notices a bunch of construction papers and some uncolored drafts too. Surprised, he tells her he thinks he's in shock. She realizes he's figured it out and proudly claims she's the author of Love Riddle, the talented high school mangaka, Renji Shishijo. But he's not that impressed. It feels a bit much to him. He thinks she can't be serious, and she quickly starts sketching to prove that the author is indeed a high school student. When he sees her drawings, he's shocked to find out she's the real deal. He can't believe a high schooler is behind this, and she's his senpai too. He wonders if she started making her debut in middle school. She feels a bit proud, even if her grades aren't that great. He thinks it's weird there hasn't been any buzz about it. She just wants to keep it low-key, not wanting anyone's bias. She wants people to enjoy her stories without any preconceptions. He asks if it's okay to tell him all this. She kind of guesses it might not be, but she thinks it wouldn't be fair not to share it. Blushing, she drops the bombshell that she actually caught his confession after all. Panicking, Karasuma asks her how much she saw, but she just replies with everything. He looked kind of adorable when he threw a fit after getting turned down, but he's more embarrassed than anything. She can't just let this slide, so she tells him his confession is actually pretty cool. She figures Fushimi's love is in the bag after all. Curiously, she asks what he likes about her, maybe her face or some of her better features. He teases her about being a bit too bold. He loves how happy she gets when they talk about manga and the way she looks when she's eating something tasty. He put a ton of effort into making the bento for her that day, hoping she'd love it. But of course, things go sideways. She asks if the bento he gave her is the one she's actually going to eat, and he confirms it. She chuckles, saying that's why the bento's taste makes total sense now. So the secret ingredient? Love. He asks if she can give him some feedback, and she honestly tells him that his love feels real. Plus, from the way Fushimi looks at him, it's pretty clear she values him a lot. With that in mind, she absolutely can't just roll with an ending where he's rejected for some lame reason. She won't accept that kind of storyline. Getting closer, she reminds him they should practice his drawing. Maybe Fushimi will change her mind after all. She thinks that as long as he keeps training, he'll eventually forget about the sting of rejection. But he's not having it. He doesn't want to pretend and admits he's not interested. He points out that they were never really meant to be in the same social circles. She can sense where the drama is coming from and feels that familiar petty vibe, just like a lot of main characters these days. He's convinced Fushimi's comment about only liking people who can draw is just a way to brush him off. She tells him that's exactly the case. People often use that as a reason to say no. Maybe Fushimi has her own reasons, though. He excitedly shares that he can sense she's not completely turned off by him, and he thinks she actually cares a bit. She figures Fushimi must like her manga, so it could be a great opportunity for her to help him out. From planning practice to giving editing tips, she's ready to support him. But he's not really buying it. He doesn't want to bother her. Shoujo insists he shouldn't be polite about it because it's for his own good. Then she admits she's been in a slump lately too. Seeing both of them has sparked a ton of ideas for her, so she wants to be his wingman. He's even less likely to agree now if she's going to use him as a model, but she promises to pay him back in some way. He feels like he's got nothing going on in his life. Shijo admits it's pretty much the same for her, and she can't hide her feelings anymore. She slowly opens up about not really understanding what love feels like, which takes Karasuma by surprise. He can't believe she feels that way, especially given how well she can write rom-coms. But she shrugs it off, saying rom-coms are just fantasies. Lots of people crush on her and confess, but she's never felt the real deal. When she sees his confession, it's the first time she starts to think that love might actually exist for real. It's also the first time she feels her heart racing like that. That's why Shijo is curious about what happens next. He wants to see how that confession plays out. which totally catches Karasuma off guard. He's also worried he's missing out on those kinds of youthful experiences, so he finally agrees to let her teach him how to draw. But he still doubts if it's even possible. Shijo believes that if he's willing, all he needs is time and motivation. Meanwhile, he's focused on saving up for family stuff and is planning to get a part-time job, which sounds like classic poor main character vibes. He tells her he really doesn't have the time or energy to meet her expectations. Seeing all of this, Shijo reflects that it's her fault for not thinking about others before speaking. But he quickly stops her from saying that. He figures that if he's sharing all this, his feelings must be mutual. Plus, he's already tidied up, so he thinks it's time to bounce. He reminds her to eat properly since he'll really struggle to get through Love Riddle if she gets sick from not eating enough. She knows he can be a bit lazy, especially when deadlines are looming. She's stressed out about whether she should hire someone for her chores. Then he calls out to her and asks if he can make her a bento every day. That totally makes Shijo blush, and she's curious about what he means. But she also throws in that he could help with her chores while she teaches him to draw. She gets it and playfully suggests hiring him as her disciple. It would help her out and give her a chance to keep an eye on him. He agrees, and she grabs his shaking hand, saying she'll help the two of them get closer. While they're up close, she tells him to show his love, and they both get a little flustered. The next day, when Karasuma walks in, she tells him to call her Master because it's important to start off on the right foot. She teases about him being a witch's disciple, thinking it sounds like something from a manga. So she decides that they should focus on filling up the draft book starting tomorrow, as practice is always the first step. The next day, Karasuma is chilling at home when his sister comes over. He apologizes for possibly waking her up and feels a bit awkward about it for no reason. He casually mentions that breakfast is at the usual spot and asks her to wake up their mom afterward, since he's already getting into his morning groove. A girl notices he's heading to school early and, with that typical mom curiosity, asks if he's joined a club. He quickly clarifies that it's not about clubs. He's just the caretaker for something. When she asks what kind of animal he's taking care of, he nonchalantly mumbles that it's a witch. As he enters the art room, Shijo groggily mentions that the rom-com MC is here. He wonders if that's really the first thing she says after waking up, feeling like she's starting her day in chaos mode. Then she starts talking about how he has a cute little sister and a childhood friend living nearby. She even rambles about how his little sister could end up being a big problem and might get worried about him coming home late, possibly turning into besties with Shijo. He honestly has no idea how to feel about that whole situation. His childhood friend is going to be pretty upset because he's totally obsessed with Fushimi. At this point, it seems like Fushimi might be headed for the losing heroine route, and Shijo points out that he needs to remember he's the main character, like it's a given. But he brushes that off, saying it's not really a big deal and admits he has no clue where to look. She picks up on that and puts on her uniform, apologizing for being not very bright in the morning. She even apologizes for showing him her messy self, looking a bit dramatic about it. But he's seen worse. She explains that she usually hangs out here when she's busy, borrowing the space from the art teacher. For her, it's nice to be able to focus on her manuscript at school, and she's proud of her little castle. Meanwhile, he tells her not to brag about such a messy room, saying it looks like something out of a disaster anime. But she starts pulling out reference materials and insists she didn't mess it up for nothing, showing him her drawings that totally blow his mind. He can't believe it's the raw draft of the love riddle. He praises her for being so talented and asks if she really banged it all out in just one day because his brain feels fried. Karasuma wonders if he can actually read it. So he becomes her first reader and starts going through it, getting a bit flustered because it's so cute. He thinks the girl in the love riddle is already adorable, which pulls him in even more. Shijo answers that she managed to create this because of the love he showed her. Then she brings out his paycheck, which totally catches him off guard. He hesitates, thinking he can't just take it, but Shijo insists he shouldn't hold back. She tells him that's what she pays her assistant, and it even includes her food expenses. If he's that worried, she says he can just work hard to make up for it. He gets it and promises to do his best, even offering to make breakfast for her. When he asks if she has any specific requests, she starts to say she wants something big and on top of that something fancy that she can really enjoy. He's not sure if he can meet her expectations and feels a bit stressed about it. With that, he starts whipping up some food. He definitely knows his way around the kitchen and handles most of the chores at home. Cooking is his favorite, mainly because he loves picturing the smiles on people's faces when they enjoy what he makes. It warms his heart. Soon enough, he serves up her hot bacon egg sandwich, fresh and comforting. She takes a bite and feels like she's in bliss, as if the world has paused just for that moment. She really values a nice breakfast like that. After finishing her meal, she brings up Fushimi-kun's love-get plan. Even if they started talking about why she rejected him, he can't magically improve his drawing skills overnight. She wants him to train, though. Then she checks in on the sketchbook she gave him, and he admits he filled every page like she asked. That explains why he's running on empty and looks like a zombie. She gives the sketchbook a look and finds that he actually did fill it up. He asks if she was joking about the challenge, but she tells him he's the first one who really took her seriously, and she totally thought he'd bail. Now, being the brooding type, she finds herself watching him closely, thinking he seems more like the lad in a sports manga than a rom-com. Taking him on as her disciple was definitely a good call, since he's all about motivation. Plus, his cooking is on point. She can't help but glance at him and feels a flurry of emotions getting flustered. This is exactly the kind of feeling she wants, being inspired by a young guy in love. Things should get interesting from here on out. He's sketching away and she leans in, encouraging him to use his shoulder strength to guide his lines. He's sweating bullets. Then she asks what's up. He hesitantly admits that she's too close for comfort, which surprises her. Now she's sweating too, thinking this is one of those iconic lucky scoop moments. She decides to use this moment in her manga and starts paying close attention to his reactions. She leans in, asking him what he's whispering because she can't catch it, and she unintentionally presses against him. His heart is racing, and he awkwardly mentions that they're touching. He's so red and quickly clarifies that it's just her ribs, which annoys her a little. After a moment, she wonders why high school guys are such a hassle. But looking at his sketches, she sees he's got passion, so he should be fine. She figures she just needs to come up with a way to understand how that girl Fushimi feels. Meanwhile, Fushimi is lurking outside the art room, watching their secret meetings, and things are definitely about to get more complicated. In class, Karasuma is really focused on his drawing, stressing over every tiny detail he's trying to get right from his references. One of his classmates strolls over and asks why he's so glued to his notes, which feels a bit random. Karasuma looks hesitant, like he's about to freak out. Just then, Shijo enters with this really striking presence, and the whole class seems to freeze for a moment. He's surprised to see her in a first-year class and totally confused by her dramatic entrance. She spots him and rushes over, asking what's up with him. She's super serious, saying it's like he's trying to kill her, which nearly sends him into a panic. When he asks what she means, she pulls out her bento and reveals it's way too spicy, almost like it had to go to the emergency room or something. She tells him to stop putting that spicy meat in there because she's barely survived lunch. Then she hands him a spare key so he can come in when she's asleep. But in a total panic, he just pinches her mouth shut and drags her out of the class. Meanwhile, the other classmates are left wondering about their convo, thinking there might be something more going on between them. Fushimi notices all of this. Now alone, Shijo asks why he yanked her away. He confronts her about yelling in front of everyone and how people might get the wrong idea. She's struck by the realization that he actually cares about that stuff, and he's kind of mad, pointing out it's not just his issue. Besides, she didn't even tell him she can't handle spicy food. Feeling guilty, Shijo apologizes, shocked she made such a rookie mistake. Karasuma notices she was up all night trying to perfect her bento or something. He decides to whip up a new one for her after school and tells her to take it easy for now. This cheers her up a lot, and she looks so much happier, like her spirits have been lifted. Later, when Shijo wakes up from her nap, she starts tying her hair and chattering away as if Karasuma is right there with her. But it's actually Fushimi who walks in, catching her completely off guard. She's sweating bullets now that Fushimi is here. Shijo can't bring herself to mention she was there during a confession moment, so she instead spills that she knows all the dirt on every girl at school. It's kind of this friend vibe who know everything. Fushimi replies that she also knows Shijo-senpai. She then inquires about their art teacher, but he's MIA for a while. She then spots the latest volume of Love Riddle, one of her faves, but Shijo awkwardly pretends she doesn't know much about it, though there's actually loads they could chat about, but now doesn't seem like the right time. While checking Fushimi out more closely, she can't help but notice how curvy she is. Fushimi calls her out directly, asking about her relationship with Karasuma, while giving Shijo this intense look. Suddenly, Shijo is lost in thought, worried Fushimi might stir up trouble over this. Even after she turned him down, she's starting to pay more attention to Karasuma. Even though Fushimi should just brush him off since she rejected him, her heart is all over the place right now. It's like she can't control her emotions, and she starts to wonder if Fushimi thinks of her as some kind of rival in love. She feels bad about it because she just sees herself as a lazy heroine, not a rival at all. She slowly speaks up, saying he's more like her servant, which is actually more accurate. He asked her to teach him how to draw, and in return, he handles her daily chores. Rumors keep spreading, but Shijo makes it clear there's no romance between them. To her, he's just a toy. Shijo figures she might have to play the bad guy here, even if it stings her ego a little. Because of that, Fushimi might end up thinking less of her, but she can tell he's really serious about this. Shijo wonders aloud about promoting him to her butler. She believes that it's like she's giving off vibes that if Fushimi doesn't want him, she'll take him. Fushimi catches that look and replies that she's glad. Meanwhile, our guy arrives as Fushimi leaves. They end up crossing paths, and Karasuma is totally blushing. He asks Master Shijo if she caused any trouble for Fushimi. For Shijo, it was tough to clear up that misunderstanding. She asks if he told his classmates about it. He answers that he only mentioned it without getting into the money part. His classmates were super worried, thinking she might have threatened him or something. That makes her snap and ask what that even means. She doesn't think it makes her the bad guy, but then she quickly backtracks, realizing it kind of fits what she just said. She informs him that deep down, Fushimi does care about him, so he still has a chance. Meanwhile, just outside the room, Fushimi is eavesdropping on their convo. She flops down, realizing Shishijo-sensei isn't going to acknowledge her that easily. She can't believe she actually talked to her, and the fact that she knows her name feels unreal. Is this really happening? After school in the art room, Shijo is staring at some delicious-looking sweets on her phone. Karasuma notices and asks if she's really that into them. She smirks, claiming it's only natural for a maiden. He points out he's only ever seen her devour sugar nonstop. She explains she's actually gathering ideas for her manga. Last time she drew sweets, people mocked her online. When he asks if her next chapter is about a date, she confirms it, which is why she's scouting dessert spots. Karasuma suggests she try some luxury sweets, but adds that if she wants a normal student experience, they should go check out places around town. As they walk through the market, she's amazed by how many dessert shops there are. He notes that lots of people are in uniform, so she didn't need to change, but she insists that since they're researching date spots, not dressing up would be a waste, especially since the clothes are just something her editor gave him. He's already done his prep though, so he sticks to his plan. Their first stop is waffles. She wonders what glorious is supposed to mean, until she sees them looking absolutely incredible. She's completely blown away by the waffles. The burst of chocolatey sweetness hits her happiness receptors hard. She even snaps a photo, despite the waffle already being half-eaten. She never imagined a single treat could bring her that much joy. Energized, she starts hunting for more sweets, and comes across some adorable macarons. Karasuma says they're almost too cute to eat, then promptly eats them anyway. Soon, they've gathered an entire assortment of desserts and snacks. Karasuma asks if all this will be useful for her project, but she admits it's too flashy and doesn't match the vibe she's aiming for. He then suggests a laid-back cafe, and she agrees immediately. She's already worn out from all the youthful energy. Karasuma is remitted that she's like an old lady, which surprises her. She asks how he can say that to a beautiful young girl like her. He explains that the way she talks seems so mature, different from their friends. She admits she is a bit out of touch with things. She is also surprised that he knows so much about sweets, and asks if he is gearing up for when he finally goes out with Fushimi. The question catches him off guard and she notices. He explains that Fushimi talked about it a lot, which sparked his curiosity. Then she asks if this kind of date is what he was planning for him and Fushimi. She is intrigued, so she tells him to take her along as practice. So they're just wandering around the streets, soaking in everything around them. Every little thing they see feels new and exciting. It's like the time spent waiting has made her realize she's been trying hard, without really knowing it. After all that, she thinks about reworking her plot. It's like she's finally getting a taste of what a real date feels like. She wonders if he'll get too into it and go all out. She figures she needs to come up with an excuse for this pseudo-date because it seriously seems like something out of a rom-com. But she tells herself it's all just for research, and he's just practicing. Right then, the waiter shows up with this massive shaved iced dessert meant for couples. She starts to think maybe he actually wants to share this with her, pretending to be a couple just for today. He admits he's always wanted to try this cafe but never had the courage to go alone, and he's grateful to be doing the research with her. Her face flushes and her heart skips a beat, but she quickly brushes it off, blaming her overactive imagination from too much manga. Sensing the mood, she reminds him it's just a practice date, and he nods, understanding. Suddenly, Fushimi walks by. Shijo panics, snapping at Karasuma to look. She recognizes her immediately. Anxiety spikes as she worries that if anyone sees them, she won't be able to explain it. Karasuma hesitates, unsure what to do, but Shijo spots a solution and takes charge, shoveling dessert to hide any evidence. Fushimi notices anyway. Thinking quickly, Shijo declares Karasuma is nothing more than a servant, hoping that Fushimi won't interpret it as a date and drags him out of the cafe. Fushimi's friend mutters that the girl is just as dangerous as the rumors suggest. Fushimi orders the same dessert as the small girl, while Shijo starts feeling sick from overeating, and Karasuma can't shake the sense that things are about to get chaotic. Shijo seems super exhausted and ends up fainting. Karasuma shows up and she feels bad that he has to see her like this. He gets ready to clean up the mess because it turns out the deadline is tomorrow morning. She really messed things up and doesn't even want to think about how much work is left. Karasuma realizes she's got no time at all. It's just a non-stop struggle. Usually she handles it pretty well, but now she has to redraw some stuff because of the research they've been doing. He starts asking about her eating habits, and she tells him he's even gone shopping. Then she drops a hint that maybe he should keep his distance. While he likes helping her, he worries that he's just getting in the way, but she insists it's not a big deal. She mentions she actually knows someone who's really capable and will teach him well. Karasuma can't believe she's really calling him in. And right then, someone jumps in. It's Uji-kun, her assistant. On the surface, he seems like a boring art teacher, but he's actually a skilled assistant who can produce entire manuscripts on his own, something Karasuma hadn't realized. Uji-kun warns against portraying him as an assassin, seeing him instead as a temporary guardian helping the girl avoid burnout. Shijo sulks while giving him a generous paycheck, but Uji-kun doesn't mind, focused on her earnings. When Karasuma questions whether teachers should have side gigs, Sensei ignores it, noticing Karasuma's eagerness to help and telling him he needs to show determination. Uji-sensei brings the professional manuscript and warns that this isn't a playground for kids anymore. It's a battlefield. Shijo tells him not to scare her adorable student, while Uji-kun doubts it's really that intense. Karasuma admits it seems scary, but figures it's worth it if it helps him improve. Uji-kun retorts that anyone can say that and tells him to practice until he can draw the lines properly, which Karasuma finds completely ridiculous. The assistant then goes over task assignments. When Shijo hands him a drawing, he notices it's a date scene. Among the sketches of sweets, he hesitates, asking about them, but she quickly explains it's because of Karasuma. Uji-kun marvels at the power of love and calls it amazing. Shijo confidently assures him she'll handle everything. If she can get pages inked every 30 minutes, they're all set. But soon after, she's stressing out, convinced there's no way this will ever end, and the pages just keep piling up. Karasuma thinks she looks defeated, but her hands aren't stopping. Uji-kun reassures her she's fine and suggests handing her a few energy drinks to help her chill out. Karasuma gets all set to look after his master's health and ends up making her pork miso soup, exactly what she's craving. As she slurps down the soup, she feels the flavors comfort her, and she can definitely feel the love. Thanking Karasuma, she realizes she can tough it out till the end. So, while she's grinding away, Karasuma's cooking for her, and Uji-kun watches the whole scene unfold. He calls out to Karasuma, asking if he can take care of the finishing touches. He agrees to it right away. While Shijo's drawing, he steals a glance at her, and is a bit surprised. Not long after, Shijo's dozing off and they actually manage to finish the work. Karasuma can't believe he still has classes after this, but he figures he might as well just rest. This time, he's shocked by the manuscript, and Uji-kun asks if they went out for research together, which he confirms. That's how they ended up with such a tight schedule. Uji-kun's getting all emotional about it, and Karasuma can't help but be surprised by his reaction. Sensei feels bad for being strict earlier and shares that nobody really approaches Shijo once they find out she's a mangaka, which has left her without any real friends. Even though she's a genius, she's been so immersed in manga that she tends to overlook reality. If she keeps going down this manga path without experiencing real life, it could be a big problem later on. This new manuscript feels completely different from the last one. Vibrant and lively. Uji-sensei counts on Karasuma to show Shijo a lot, and Karasuma promises to meet her expectations and win Fushimi's heart. Uji-kun is taken aback and asks who Fushimi is. Karasuma admits she's the girl he likes. Sensei, confused, wonders if he's dating Shijo, but Karasuma denies it, saying she only sees him as her servant and is really only focused on manga. He then heads off for a shower, leaving the assistant deep in thought while Shijo naps peacefully. In the art room, Shijo checks out a drawing Karasuma just made, and honestly, it looks pretty good. She thinks he's really nailed it this time, and he seems proud of it too. He's figured out what a master's tastes are, and then he asks if she's talking about the bento, but she's actually referring to his art and how quickly he's improved. She figures it's because she's such a great teacher, which he believes is somewhat true. Things seem to be going well, and if they keep this up, he might just start showing his love. Then Uji-kun jumps in and drops the bombshell that their club is getting disbanded. She and Karasuma are totally shocked and can't believe it. Shijo wants credit for her painting award, thinking that it should be enough to prove their club's efforts. Uji-kun says it's just because they don't have enough members to be recognized, even if they have a ghost member. They've got to find someone by next week. Karasuma starts stressing about what to do because, at this rate, they might lose the club room. For Shijo, this whole disbanding thing sounds like fun and like a classic trope of finding a new club member. Karasuma quickly agrees to go out and find someone to help them, but deep down, he doesn't really trust her to recruit anyone. It'd be a pain to lose this space, but after trying hard, he totally flops. The rep of the art room is now worse than ever. Shijo feels bad about that. He asks what went so wrong with the previous members since he didn't do anything wrong and they still left. If it's really this bad, she figures she might as well start saving up some money. Meanwhile, he thinks he'll try asking people from other grades after school. When she hears that, she gets pumped because she can't let her disciple do all the work alone. So, she decides to go ask people in her classroom, but she realizes she doesn't actually have any friends there. That makes her wonder if he thinks too little of her. She's never really wanted to talk to her classmates. As Shijo walks into class, she's feeling awful. It seems pointless to try talking to anyone when her classmates keep giving her those looks. She even starts to wonder why she bothers coming at all. Would it really matter if she didn't return to this room? But then she thinks about Karasuma and realizes she's gotten more used to this place than she thought. After all, where else could she observe a high school boy up close? Just then, someone interrupts. It's Umiya Nono, who comments on how cute Shijo's expressions are. Shijo asks if it's really that obvious, and Nono, class rep, introduces herself. She explains that the art club is in trouble, and Shijo quickly guesses the rumors have spread. She figures people are avoiding the club because of her reputation. Nono adds that everyone quit because the atmosphere felt too heavy and intimidating. Shijo is stunned. She hadn't noticed any of it. Nono assures her she doesn't think Shijo is a bad person and believes she can help turn things around. She even says someone might be interested in joining the club. Though the person was wary because of the rumors, Nono promises to tell them Shijo isn't nearly as scary as people say, so there's still hope. In return, Nono playfully requests that Shijo show up to class more often. As Shijo leaves, Nono chuckles, thinking maybe she won't have to worry now. For the moment, it looks like the art club crisis is averted. Karasuma believes her classmate managed to carry the conversation, wondering what kind of person would want to join. He thinks it would be great if they understood their situation better, but Shijo feels optimistic. They could just draw other stuff besides manga if needed. She figures things might get a little tricky, but as long as Karasuma's around, she's okay. He thinks it'd be bad if he wasn't there for her. She starts daydreaming and mentions that the draft she worked on the other day was only possible because of him. She points out that right now she really needs him and can't keep going without his love. Just then, Fushimi shows up, and Karasuma gets super nervous. He asks why she's there, and she replies that Senpai asked her to check out the club. But noticing both of them together, Fushimi feels like she's just interrupting, so she turns to leave, and they both jump up to stop her. He quickly makes it clear that she's got it all wrong. What she meant by love was really just about his dedication and hard work. She's just trying to show appreciation for her servant. Hearing this, Fushimi suggests to make her a servant too. When Shijo hears this, she's pretty shocked and asks what she's talking about. Fushimi then chimes in, asking if there's a problem. If he's not special to her, then what's the big deal? That's when Karasuma jumps in, telling Fushimi-san to hold on a sec. She's worried that she might end up feeling really down. It's like taking care of a big baby. Fushimi listens and then drops the bomb that she already knows all this. That really surprises Shijo and Karasuma. There's this super awkward silence between the three of them, with Shijo and Karasuma sweating bullets, feeling like they've really messed up. As the club begins its recruitment effort, a demon lord of a situation appears, bringing everything to a standstill. Shijo, however, thinks this is actually a great opportunity. If things go well, the club won't be disbanded. And she can observe these two and their budding romance up close, which is honestly pretty entertaining. But first, she needs to break the suffocating tension hanging over the room. She asks Fushimi whether she can draw. Fushimi admits she doesn't really draw, but she loves looking at art, and even has a separate account just for browsing. Shijo completely gets it, then asks if she'd consider being an art model for the club. Fushimi seems indifferent, saying it's not that fun to see how others draw her. Still, she starts taking off her sweater without much hesitation. Shoujo quickly tells her that stripping any further is definitely unnecessary. She doesn't need to undress at all. Just then, Karasuma calls out to his master. Fushimi leans in, whispering, confused about what's going on. Shoujo feels the same and suggests they all just talk it out to ease the mood. This is Karasuma's moment. Shoujo thinks it is a sight to behold, in which a beautiful scene where two self-conscious and awkward people communicate through drawings. Just then, Fujima asks what kind of pose she should do. Shoujo passes the question to Karasuma if he got any request. He is totally sweating buckets, and after stumbling across his words, he mentions to just sit as she normally would. So after this, she sits on the couch and they both start to draw out Fushimi. Shoujo remarks that she is really picturesque, and Fushimi appreciates it. Shoujo remarks that she is literally the ideal cool gal. It is like she isn't the type of person who would read a love chronicle. Fushimi thinks that it is true that there aren't many people around her, but she thinks that everyone should read it. She remarks that it will be completely honest that fashion is only half a hobby to her. The other half is nothing more than a facade. She remarks if people found out that she is an otaku, it wouldn't really affect her. This is when Shoujo hits up with the realization, wondering if she just hits upon a landmine. The talking is meant to calm the mood, but it is just getting worse. She doesn't get Fushimi at all. She thought that intimidating gaze of Fushimi is to put pressure on them, but then she just blurts out something like that. At her current communication level, she wonders how she can handle it. Fushimi is just wearing a cold expression. On the other hand, Fushimi is thinking that this is so nerve-wracking that she can't even utter a single word. Fushimi wonders about the situation that Shoujo just picks her to be a model for her drawings. She even complimented her looks, and she wonders what kind of emotion she should express. Fushimi thinks that now that she takes a better look at her, she thinks Shoujo is like a cute little creature. Shoujo has those droopy eyes and a cat-like mouth, plus her petite figure is just too cute to handle. It's like she's straight out of a 3D world. Fushimi feels like the gods are spoiling her. She remembers the witch's ultimate move, insisting Karasuma is only her servant and that there's nothing romantic between them. But Fushimi knows that's a blatant lie. She catches herself drifting too far into her own thoughts. Meanwhile, Shoujo is nudging Karasuma to really look at Fushimi. Shoujo leans in close to guide him, and the sight throws Fushimi off. The way they're standing almost feels criminal, like they don't even realize what they're doing. Shoujo notices Fushimi's intense stare, and Karasuma, confused, asks Fushimi if she'd like to learn to draw from a professional. Soon, Fushimi is sketching Karasuma while Shoujo instructs her on technique and posture. But Fushimi can't focus. Shoujo is leaning in so close that it's overwhelming. Her fluffy hair brushes against Fushimi, smelling like ink, and Fushimi's face heats up. When Shoujo asks if anything is hard to understand, Fushimi, sweating, admits she's at her limit. Shoujo wonders if she overdid it. Fushimi decides it's better if she leaves, feeling like her presence is causing trouble. But Shoujo insists things would be worse without her. Fushimi reassures them the club won't be disbanded, she'll stay on as a cost member, and apologizes for the awkwardness, explaining she's bad at talking and panics when she gets nervous. Shoujo is genuinely surprised. She hadn't realized Fushimi struggled this much socially. As Fushimi heads out, she tells them not to worry about her, and implies she won't be around as often. Shoujo tries to stop her, but Karasuma steps in. He tells her he knows she's shy and sometimes says strange things, but she's actually been getting along better with the class today. He also noticed she seemed uncomfortable with him there, and awkwardly asks if maybe Fushimi actually likes Shoujo-sensei. Fushimi simply responds with her usual icy calm. In response, she's like, yeah, she does like Shoujo. Hearing that, he totally freezes up. Then she asks if he feels the same way, but he quickly shuts that down, saying that's definitely not the case. He starts to explain that it's a weird situation and he's just looking out for Shoujo. She then mentions that maybe he does those things because he actually cares about Shoujo while pulling out a love-riddled manga. He completely freezes again, and after a moment, he spills everything about Shoujo. Turns out she already knew Master's real identity. This clears up all the tension for Karasuma, and he asks how she figured it out. She explains that she was drawn in by Shoujo's artwork and became curious about what kind of person Shoujo really is. Since all she ever heard were rumors, she secretly joined the old art club's community using a fake account. There, she spotted a former member's reflection in a photo and eventually stumbled upon an unpublished draft. She recognized it instantly. She'd seen Shoujo's art before at an exhibition. Karasuma points out that recognizing the artwork isn't really the issue. Afterwards, she accompanied him to the art club room. Once inside, she became certain Shijo is the creator. There were manuscripts everywhere. Karasuma, however, worries that Shijo is being way too careless with her work lying out in the open. Meanwhile, inside the club room, Shijo is sneezing and growing restless. She wonders why they're taking so long. Pacing back and forth, she imagines Karasuma struggling to convince Fushimi. Or worse, that things are just dragging out pointlessly. Feeling misled by his earlier determination, she refuses to sit still and rushes outside. Karasuma figures that since Fushimi already knows, talking with Master should be easier. But Fushimi suddenly grabs his sleeve, asking him not to tell her. She feels Shijo doesn't want her identity exposed. Fushimi admits she would be happy if Shijo knew she knows, but she's scared it'll make her look suspicious. When Karasuma bluntly suggests she has ulterior motives, Fushimi denies it. That's not the problem. She's just afraid Shijo will see her as a creepy stalker. Fushimi chatters away while Shijo hides around the corner, unable to hear the full conversation. She's found them, but she can't bring herself to get any closer. Normally, she'd brainstorm manga ideas at a time like this, but her mind is blank. All she catches are fragments about a date and some shaved ice place. Fushimi and Karasuma keep chatting, with him explaining the shop, while Shijo's imagination fills in the blanks. She pictures Fushimi enjoying their date, Karasuma insisting he was dragged along by his master and Fushimi suggesting another outing as a reward for his training. But reality is much simpler. Fushimi just wants to try the same food her idol ate. Karasuma then casually tells her she's welcome at the art club anytime, calling her part of Shihijo's support alliance. Fushimi seems taken aback, but he explains he has limits to how much he can cover for his master. Having someone like her around might actually help. Fushimi hesitates, thinking it'd be awkward to go back after barging in and running off. Karasuma reassures her. Master just has a strange sense of distance and likes crashing into rooms dramatically. From her hiding spot, Shijo can clearly hear the mild bad-mouthing and worries a bit. Fushimi asks how he feels after everything she's done, but he says he's the one who blurted out a confession. He's grateful to her. She made him realize how fun drawing can be. Trying to play it cool, he says he wants to see more of her passion. He reaches out to thank her and she takes his hand. Shijo watches delighted, believing the two of them are being genuine, even if she can't catch every word. While they continue talking, Shijo feels oddly overwhelmed, maybe even a little lightheaded from all the excitement. Fushimi worries she'll be interrogated for storming out earlier, but Karasuma tells her not to stress. He has a plan. When they step back inside, Shijo greets them with a bright smile and comments on how long they took. Karasuma is confused and Shijo leans in to whisper that she understands completely, so there's no need for excuses. On the way to school, Fushimi straight up asks Karasuma why he doesn't give manga a shot. He thinks about it for a second and realizes he hasn't really considered it before. When he asks her why she's curious, she just says it's something she'd enjoy reading. Plus, she knows he's learning from a pretty well-known mangaka and wonders if he feels it's a waste to focus only on drawing. Fushimi points out that making manga isn't just about drawing, it's also about understanding composition and poses. Karasuma gets it. He knows it takes a lot of time and effort. He realizes he needs to come up with a story, but he figures that's easier said than done. Still, he's up for the challenge. The next day, he tells Shijo that he wants her to teach him how to draw manga. She's totally cool with it, but warns him that he's the only one who'll be asking for her help like this. She then asks what he wants to draw. He mentions he'd like to express some anger towards society. She suggests he start with just 4 pages to warm up. They brainstorm some topics he likes, and she asks if there's a particular scenario or character he's into. She throws out the idea of a gal who's nice to otaku, which surprises him a bit. He admits he actually likes it, but thinks it's been done a million times. She reassures him that it doesn't really matter if themes repeat. The more, the merrier. Plus, she believes he must have some personal experience to draw from. He seems a bit unsure, but she just tells him it's all decided and pushes him to whip up something for today, insisting he show his love for her. This gets him sweating. Later, he's in class, realizing he hasn't even figured out his own feelings yet. His mind drifts to Fushimi, who's actually watching him. He's lost in memories of that day in his room. Fushimi, being quiet, doesn't share much, so no one knows what's going on in her head. But that day, he happened to glimpse her phone and saw something that caught him completely off guard. She immediately warned him not to tell anyone and made it clear there'd be consequences if he did. So now he calls out to her and casually mentions that he follows her, and even shares his own account. As they sit together talking about manga, he realizes Fushimi has an entire hidden side no one else knows. She can chatter endlessly and is even more of an otaku than he is. The way she lights up when talking about what she loves is honestly adorable. He thinks about creating something but feels embarrassed about it. Still, he doodles some sketches, convincing himself that the master doesn't need to see these. Meanwhile, Fushimi sees what he's doing. He thinks it's a waste of time and feels stuck with his draft. Once outside, Fushimi rushes up to him and mentions the drawings he tossed aside, totally catching him off guard. He starts freaking out, recalling he threw them away and can't believe she picked them up. He apologizes, but she insists he shouldn't have tossed them. She tells him she wants to see what he enjoys, just like he wanted to see her enthusiasm. Then she shows him her reaction to his work and tells him he has to take responsibility and share it through his art. He takes the sketches to Shijo, who seems surprised but flattered. She thinks it's awesome since he's showing her something heartfelt. He's unsure if he can turn it into a manga, but Shijo explains that comes with practice. She guides him to break it down into panels to keep things clear and set the right pace. And just like that, it's turning into a real manga. Fushimi realizes she took too long to express herself and asks if he could adjust the character design so it doesn't look too much like her. He clarifies he was just trying to draw his ideal girl. As they bond, Shijo keeps an eye on them, feeling a bit uneasy. Later in class, Shijo feels relieved that the club has been saved from disbandment, and she can watch the couple's dynamic closely. But something feels off. Nono notices and asks if something's bothering her. Surprised, Shijo wonders if it's that obvious. Nono guesses it might be about Fushimi, but Shijo reassures her that everything with Fushimi is going well. Relieved, Nono nods. Shijo mentions that her servant is working on a manga, yet she can't shake the feeling that something's missing. Nono seems to understand, but another student scoffs. She can't ignore that someone training under the witch is neglecting her manga ambitions. Annoyed, she calls out to Shijo, wondering how long she plans to make her look foolish.
Here I am, know it's been a while. I was in denial about my love. Here I stand, I know I walked away. Had to find the person